They're running on fear. If Americans want to vote out of fear, they're going to vote for these guys. If they want to vote out of hope, they're going to vote out of me.
Independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who held his own event tonight, moderated by John Stossel, at the same time as the presidential debate. He answered many of the same questions. And as Chris was saying a moment ago, there's a good chance that he won just by being there. And he joins us now. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it. All right, first, let's just get your overall thoughts from watching today's debate between Trump and Biden.
I think it's going to leave a lot of Americans depressed. You know, we have a crisis now. The American middle class has been hit by a nuclear bomb. You had two presidents who are saying we're having a great economy, and there's nobody in this country. I'm traveling this country every day. People are shattered right now. 70% of Americans are not making enough money to meet basic human needs. And, you know, I'm running into elderly people who are splitting their prescriptions to make them last through the week, mothers who are downgrading their groceries to make it through the checkout line, people who are taking shortcuts, not bringing a baby to the doctor because of the expense. They're choosing between fuel and food. This is happening not just at the lower levels, but now you have 1% of our country that owns more wealth than the 60% of the middle class. The middle class was just torpedoed by the COVID lockdowns, and there's been no recovery. And I think these presidents were not offering them anything. They weren't telling them how our kids are the first generation of children who aren't going to own their own homes, who are going to live worse than their parents. And neither of them were speaking to those kids and saying, I'm going to get you in the home. Oh, I think that's, you know, that's what I'm doing as a presidential candidate, and I'm thinking about it. How are we going to end the chronic disease epidemic? How are we going to unravel the war machine? They're not talking about those.
Yeah.
How are we going to unravel this corrupt merger of state and corporate power? These are the issues people are concerned with.
Do you think, and I agree with you, the debate lacked enormous specificity. There were a lot of sweeping statements like former President Trump saying, I'll end the war in Ukraine before I take office in January, without ever saying what he would do to do that. Or I'll get Evan Gershkovich freed the day after I'm elected, without ever saying how he would do that. I could go on and on. My question to you is, do you feel, after watching this debate tonight, that more people will now give you another look?
I don't know. I try not to make those, you know, projections. I try to avoid spin, and you know, I just think Americans are gonna. I think it was a depressing exhibition that we have 341 million people in this country, and we have brilliant people in this country, and great innovators and thinkers, and it's just depressing to say that this is, you know, is this really the best that we can come up with? And these parties, you know, locked out other people from this debate.
Right.
You know, this is the first debate in history that was privately run by a for-profit corporation that's making money on the debate, and that will probably get money from both of those campaigns, enormous amount. And I think it's going to leave a lot of Americans with a reinforced idea that this whole system is rigged.
But
it's rigged to give us two unsavory characters, and that we don't have any choice. You know, this, like Putin. Putin won by 88% of the vote, and everybody's criticizing him. But the way he did that was by controlling the media in his country and making sure that nobody else could get on the ballot.
Well, and killing his opponents.
Elections.
And,
that's how they're being.
There is a little more than that involved in Putin's big victory. But my point to you is that much of Biden's vulnerability in the polls were that people were a vast majority of Americans were convinced he was too old. This debate was supposed to put that to rest. It did not, by a long shot. It failed by a long shot. And Trump has there's a ceiling on Trump. There's a certain percentage of Americans who will not vote for him no matter what. So doesn't that give your candidacy, the third option, viability, especially since you are, you know, slowly but steadily winning your way onto state ballots?
Yeah, I mean, 70% of Americans said they wanted me on that stage. About between 70 and 80%, depending on what poll you read, do not want to have to choose between President Biden and President Trump. They are tired of choosing the lesser of two evils. They want, another choice. And, hopefully some of them are going to start looking at me.
Do you think that it would have helped President Biden if you were on the stage tonight?
I don't think it would have helped either of either President Trump or President Biden. I think it would have helped me a lot.
Hey, Bobby, it's Chris Cuomo. Any thought yet to going to the Democrats and saying, look, I am a Democrat, and you guys have been boxing me out. Look at the numbers, look at the infrastructure, look where the people are, or really approaching the president and having a conversation with him. Because he may have a hard talk with himself after tonight, Bobby. Any thought about doing either of those things?
Well, poll after poll from the beginning, from last summer, but including this giant poll that was just taken by Zogby, shows that I'm the only one who can beat President Trump. In a head-to-head with President Trump, I beat him. In a head-to-head with President Biden, I beat him in a landslide, 39 states to 11 states. But President Trump, I beat him. There's no other Democrat who can beat him. So I think, I think the leadership of the Democratic Party, the nomination, Chris, is going to fall into the hands of the superdelegates. The superdelegates are largely chosen by the donors to the party. And those donors are these giant corporations like BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, the Pfizer, the military industrial complex, the pharmaceutical companies. And I think they probably would rather see Trump in office than me because, I think I'm a threat to their control of our government.
I hear you, but Bobby, you don't know if you don't ask. And, you have to know that they're in scramble mode. They're going to pray for something else to happen in the world. You'll see who's friendly to the administration in terms of what people cover the next 2-3 days. Because if all of a sudden something suddenly happens in Ukraine or the Middle East and we stop talking about our election, you'll know why. But strategically, you're learning firsthand with your organization how hard it is to break into the system from the outside. The Democrats are looking for somebody. I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be worth the energy for you to make yourself an option.
Who do you have that phone conversation with, Chris? Do you know who that guy is?
I could give you a couple people that I think I would have a conversation with that I'll call you. I'm just saying, Bob, look, you're a known quantity. Everybody knows that you have your own mind, but people know your family. They know what your background is. Nobody's got better Democratic bona fides than you do. And they just pushed you out because of how toxic the party system has become. But now the guy they pushed you out for is in free fall. So, I'm just throwing it out there because it would really solve their problems and yours at the same time.
Yeah, I cannot predict what they're going to do. I mean,
Would you be open to talking to them? If they reached out to you, Bobby, would you be talking to them?
Of course I would. Of course I would talk to them. It would put me on the ballot with nobody trying to get me off.
Yeah.
I'm going to be on the ballot at this point in every state by mid-July. But it would be. But I'm going to have the the DNC suing me in every state, so to get me back off of it again. So I would talk to somebody.
All right. Well, listen. I think that something I heard you say early on is very resonant, certainly with the people in my life who are watching tonight. They're sad. They're depressed. The two people on the stage are an embarrassment as choices in a country as great as America. And I think that was felt by a lot of people. And now the question is, what fills that vacuum? On Trump's side of the ball, he is what he is, but anybody who's proud of him with what they saw tonight has way too low a standard for themselves. So I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming on tonight here at NewsNation. You have an open platform for the duration to make your case as you have from the beginning, and we look forward to seeing what all of tonight means to you tomorrow.
Chris, thanks so much for having me.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.